We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Batman, issue 1. This is a 2023 facsimile reprint of the April 1940 issue, featuring the original ads and stories as they were originally presented. Slight difference on here is, of course, the cover price. It is not 10 cents, it is $7. Covers by Bob Kane. Then we have the first story of The Legend of the Batman, which is a 2-page synopsis, like all comics should with issue 1. Of the origin of the character. Now this is of course reprinted from Detective Comics number 33. Then there is a story about the Joker, which is the first appearance of the Joker. This story was written by Bill Finger, art by Bob Kane and Jerry Robinson. In this case, the mysterious Mr. Joker, as Batman calls him, announces on the radio that he is going to kill a person and steal their jewels. So he goes on this jewel heist. He really likes jewels in this issue. Now, some of these are done by poisoning in advance, others are disguises, and he uses this gas gun, and of course Batman has to capture the Joker. So when the Joker decides to go after a thug named Brute Nelson, Batman goes after him, but the Joker gets away, only to turn up at another rich guy's house, and there's some pretty creepy panels in there. Robin ends up getting himself captured, but before the Joker can inject him with Joker venom, Batman shows up to save the day. They do manage to capture the Joker, but of course the Joker's not done just yet. Then we've got Major Bigsbe and Bots, which is about a guy named Major Bigsbe who apparently likes to shoot guns like Yosemite Sam, and they end up in some shenanigans. This is by Paul Gustavson. It's a real short piece. Then there's another Batman story, and this one is typically called something along the lines of the Giants of Hugo Strange or the Monster Men. In this one, Hugo Strange leads a escape from prison, and he also grabs a couple of mentally ill people from an insane asylum. Their words, not mine. And Hugo Strange has experimented on the mental patients and turned them into giants. So these giant monster men manage to grab a hold of Batman. Batman gets injected with the same serum, but he's Batman, so he does figure out a way to get out of that. And he has to stop Hugo Strange and his men. Hugo Strange takes a plummet off a cliff. Batman just punches him right out a window, and he's going off the cliff. And then Batman has to take down the monster men. Unfortunately, two of the monster men kill each other, and Batman takes out the other two. He does make a comment about how much he doesn't like to take a human life, but it's necessary this time. He uses the bat plane on one, and the other one has a King Kong ending. Then there is a 1-page text story called Strictly Publicity by Guy Monroe, and I don't really care about that. Then there's a Meet the Artist where you get to meet Bob Kane, and you learn a little bit about him. No mention of Bill Finger or Jerry Robinson, because why give them any credit? Now, Jerry Robinson mostly did background stuff on these stories, but he did do a lot of development on the Joker. Despite what Bob Kane said, Jerry Robinson and Bill Finger had quite a lot to do with that. But the next Batman story, because these old issues had a lot of pages and they were well worth the money, is the first appearance of a villain named the Cat, which would later become Catwoman. And in this case, Mrs. John Travers is having a party on her yacht, the Dolphin, and her good-for-nothing freeloading nephew is helping out this old lady, and they go on the ship along with a whole bunch of other freeloaders that are trying to get money off this old woman. Now, Martha Travers does argue with her brother, who keeps asking for money to get bailed out of his stock market choices, and Robin has infiltrated the staff posing as a steward, and he comes across a clue as to who might be working with the mysterious cat. Well, the necklace turns up missing right before some bad guys show up to rob the boat. Robin quickly goes to work, and finally Batman shows up. He had some other case he was working on that they never really go into, but Robin's done a good job, and there's this weird breaking the fourth wall moment where Robin beats up 4 guys because Batman took their guns away to show that most crooks are cowards and bullies without their guns, and he breaks the fourth wall to show that. That was very weird. But then they go back to the boat, return the stuff that was stolen by the thugs because they looted everything anyway, but Batman does figure out who has the jewel and who is the mysterious cat. She ends up getting away, mostly because Batman let her. Then we've got Two Aces by George Shute, which is another slightly over a page text story that I don't really care about. Then there's this little cartoon about Ginger Snap, who's this little girl that freeloads off her Uncle Zep, who is sort of a W.C. Fields type character. And there's a lot of gas jokes, subtly played. Then there's Fantastic Facts, which is this little factoid thing with some caricatures that are going to be highly inappropriate nowadays by the standards of the day. Then we've got another Joker story called The Joker Returns. This one, script by Bill Finger, pencils by Bob Kane, with inks by Bob Kane, and Jerry Robinson did the backgrounds. In this one, the Joker's back. He has a secret lair in a crypt, and he gets back on the radio again to say he's going to rob somebody else. And of course, he uses a gas gun. Batman tries to stop him, but he gets away, and the cops almost catch Batman. He's got to fight his way out while they're shooting at him. Well, then there's this reformer guy that wants to catch the Joker, and well, he doesn't last very long. And then Commissioner Gordon and Bruce Wayne come up with an idea on how to catch the Joker. Because of his love for jewels, the Joker falls for this ruse of the fire ruby. And of course, when the cops surround him, he comes out blasting, and he takes off again from Robin. But in the end, the Joker accidentally stabs himself. Now, originally, the legend is that Bob Kane wanted the Joker to die because he didn't believe in reoccurring villains. He got overruled by editorial on that one, and at the last minute, an additional panel was added to the comic, letting the audience know that the Joker is in fact alive. Overall, most of the stories are fine. It's very Golden Age, so it's aimed at a much younger audience, but there are some very adult themes in here. A lot of gunplay, a lot of action. There's some really cool perspective angles in here, but the art is very primitive in a lot of ways. I respect what they were doing, and I give a lot of leeway to the Golden Age stuff because it was definitely more influenced by comic strips that you would find in the newspaper, and these were churned out very quickly with not a lot of time being able to be devoted to them, because most of these guys working on these books were doing 4 or 5 books at a time or stories, and they didn't really have the time to do a lot of heavy detailing. But because it is so stylistic, it tends to have a very unique look to it, and a lot of the Golden Age stuff is like that, so I give a lot of leeway for that. But their use of shadows is really, really good, especially in the first Joker story, where they are masking that they are cutting some corners by hiding backgrounds, that sort of thing, or just trying to save time while drawing, but it works out very well. So the talent is definitely there, it just has a very odd look to it at times. I think it has a lot more character than a lot of the stuff now, which the computer-generated art kind of looks all the same. This has a very unique look to it. Now, in the story with the cat, the angles of the faces look really, really weird, so that one kind of threw me off. I think everybody looks very cartoonish and odd in that one, so that one didn't really work. I like the story, but the art was kind of messy through most of it. The last couple pages do salvage it quite a bit. And the last story definitely looked a little bit more rushed than the first one, but I like that story as well. I thought it was really well done. And the Monster Men story I thought was a lot of fun too. There's a lot of stuff in here though that is of its time and is going to be seen as racist or at the minimum politically incorrect by today's standards, but this is a product of its time and should be looked at as such. So as far as children's literature goes, this is a lot edgier than anything coming out today for kids. And I have to say, I hadn't read a few of these stories, and it was really nice to see the origin of the characters versus how they're portrayed today, especially with Hugo Strange, because he's a professor here and not a doctor. He's more of a mad scientist type. So I am going to recommend this. I thought it was a lot of fun, and the Facsimile issue, while expensive, is a lot cheaper than getting the original for obvious reasons. So if you get a chance to check out the Facsimile edition, I would definitely recommend it if you're not soft-hearted or weak, and you can look past some of the things that might be seen as abrasive or inappropriate today. So it's a good archive piece to see the original ads and the other bits and pieces that were in the original story and not just the Batman stories. But the paper quality is fantastic. It's on newsprint, so you get to see it. The colors look really bright and vibrant, and there's a lot of action in here. So I'm absolutely going to recommend this. I had a lot of fun reading it, and I hope they do a lot more of these Facsimile issues, especially with these older ones that are very, very difficult to find and read. Even in omnibus form, they're very difficult to track down sometimes. And I like looking at the original ads and the other little stories that were in there in the original format and context of these oversized issues. And that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods. And as always, always, we hope to see you on the next one.